Preparing for birth is not just about physical readiness, but nurturing a connection to your body, your baby, and the natural power within you. This is why we advocate for positive and intentional birth preparation. Our Pleasurable Birth Essentials online course offers you the flexibility to learn at your own pace, and for those seeking tailored support, our private birth coaching provides personalized guidance to help you fully embrace the birth experience. Today, I am so honored to introduce a guest whose story will inspire and illuminate the depths of this sacred process. She will share her powerful and healing birth story that she calls the power of surrendering, a water birth in connection with the divine through Theta brainwaves. Join us as she recounts how she prepared herself, release fear, and embrace the experience, accessing a profound state of connection and trust. Hi, I'm Deborah Pascali-Bonaro, founder and director of Orgasmic Birth and host of the Orgasmic Birth podcast. My guest today, Jasmin Jess, is a holistic health expert from Germany who discovered her passion for Ayurveda after studying international business and traveling extensively. Co-founder of Prana Up Your Life, a well-regarded wellness brand, she moved to Crete in 2022 with her husband and dog. Despite facing personal challenges, including a miscarriage and her daughter Ananda's health issues, Jasmin remains dedicated to building a supportive, holistic community in southern Crete, focusing on shared childcare and wellness. So welcome, Jasmin.
Thank you, Deborah. Wow, this actually sounds wonderful. I'm like, who's that person? Oh, it's
Oh,
actually me.
yes. I've been so touched kind of reading more about your story, and I'm so honored that you're, willing to share it here to inspire others. Sorry to hear of your loss, as a miscarriage can be so hard and often is not recognized even by family, friends, and society. So I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about the experience and how that may have changed how you prepared for your next pregnancy and birth.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's very important to talk about it. And for me, it also took a while until I went out there with the miscarriage. And I think it's very important to actually do it right then and there if you feel like sharing. And yeah, it takes courage to do it, but it helps a lot to talk about it. And then a lot of women came back to me and said, "Oh, I had the same, but I couldn't really say it and it felt weird." And the doctors sometimes say like, "Oh, this is normal, like, we have this every day." But that doesn't really help, right? Because it's a big loss. And for me, because I also talked to the soul that came into my body beforehand, and I already heard her name, and I connected to her. So I was very much in this process already. And then I felt like an off. I felt like something in this connection isn't right anymore. And then the problem was that I doubted myself. I was like, maybe I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't have this connection anymore. Something is wrong. And through the whole process of losing her in the beginning, I also didn't have a really good doctor's experience because I was just new to the island of Crete. And with the language barrier and everything, it was a bit difficult. And he said like, "Oh, are you sure you were pregnant? Because I can't see anything." And I was like, wow, okay.
Oh,
And
I'm
that
so
was
sorry to
really,
hear that.
it was really hard to hear because I knew I was pregnant. I mean, in the end, I was at a second doctor, and he said, "Yeah, I can see the point where the fetus was already starting to grow." Um, yes, so I think it's very important to talk about it and to get reassurance from other women that is something it's quite normal, but it's still hurting and it's still not an easy process, especially when then after that you're like, okay, And now how do I get pregnant again without pressuring myself? Because I think that's you don't want to do this, and it doesn't help in the process.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing, because I think this is so, as you said, so important to talk about. So, for your own healing and for other people to be able to offer you support and understand the grief and loss that's going on, especially when you already had such a strong connection.
Mhm.
So, how did you prepare? What were some ways that you were able to address kind of those fears that might have been coming up and prepare to have another pregnancy?
For me, it was a huge step towards this connection or trusting in the connection again. And I think in the end, when I look back, it make me like really, really trust in this connection afterwards, because I kept getting messages again from the same soul. And then it was really crazy because she said at some point, "Oh, we all needed some more time." Like she did. I needed some more time, and my partner, like her father as well. And it was actually true because we came to Crete, we opened up and we renovated a cafe. We were like really in this process of, starting a new life. And I would have welcomed her in this process, but it would have been a lot, especially now that she then, when she came, had a very, very big health issue, and we had to go to hospital every 4 weeks, actually. And yeah, so it turned out that my trust was further heightened actually through the whole process, even though it was hard, yes. Um, but I think in the end it turned all right. Yeah. And yes, I think this is important to, in the process, to always believe it's going to be the right thing that happens to you, whatever it is, and whenever it happens again.
Yes. So take us into like you intentionally really connected with this soul.
Mhm.
How was that pregnancy like? What was some of your early and your whole pregnancy like? And what were some of the things that you were doing that was supporting you and that connection and preparing for birth?
Mhm. Mm, so in the beginning, when I got pregnant again, I actually did have some fears that it would, yeah, the soul would go again, right? I think everyone knows this who had a miscarriage and got pregnant again. And I actually had a doula helping me in the beginning. So I didn't mention that. Yes, and we had some sessions, and we really went into also this loss again. I think it's very important to look at it again. Have you really let go of the last pregnancy so the new pregnancy can come in clear and fresh, right? And so I did a lot of looking at the fears, helping, getting help with the grief, and also doing rituals. Also a ritual where we invited the soul into the body, and that was so powerful because I really felt the soul coming into the body. And then she had this funny, cheeky laugh, and it was so crazy. She really was like, "Oh, okay, well, this is a bit strange here, but I mean, I'm doing this now. Let's do this." She was so funny with everything. And then I was like, okay, this is, we're doing this. This is working this time. Yeah, I really, really trusted it from then on. Mm, and the funny thing is, she is like the cheekiest little soul ever now on Earth. Like it's the same energy, right? The same feeling I had then while being pregnant with her now. And this really also strengthened again. So I think just doing it, like trying to connect to the soul, speak to her, him, whatever. I also knew it's a she from beginning onwards. And then the doctor told me, do you want to know? I know. She's like, it's a girl. I'm like, yeah, thank you. But I knew that anyway.
I love that, right? Such an incredible connection. And I didn't know you had the doula too. So
Yeah.
take us through what other things in pregnancy really supported you to get your body ready for birth and your mind.
Well, I'm a trained Theta healer, so I learned how to connect myself into a Theta brainwave state. That's the state before sleeping. Usually we know this kind of getting off somewhere feeling. So I really trained more and more getting into that state beforehand, because I knew from also listening to other podcasts and preparing myself that you naturally get into this theta brainwave state when going into birth. But I thought, I heard a lot of stories that when you get out of it, the pain comes, right? So I really tried in difficult situation to connect, like when there's distraction somewhere outside, or whatever can come up during birth, fears also. So yes, I trained coming into this theta state a lot, and helping to let go and surrendering. I think I tried to practice this before, but I think I didn't come close to any of them, what it was like at birth.
But great that you were practicing, right? Because you can never
Yes.
replicate what labor and birth are like, but wonderful to be practicing in other situations. And I love that you work with that brain waves and bringing people into that, theta state. And for me, it's so fascinating because, like, traditional cultures years ago, and I often go to teach in Bali, they talk about when women are in labor, they have to leave their body and go and meet their child's spirit or soul and bring them earthside in the process. And it's this acknowledgement that we're in this altered state of consciousness, right? And
Yeah.
you know that as brainwaves. So
Yeah.
how do you prepare for that? How did you do some practices for that?
Well, actually, back then it was my work as well. So I worked with others, I trained them in it. So I naturally was doing it anyway. But then something that's very easy actually in the morning to to get into this is it's like a guided meditation, but basically it's connecting to the earth first, then going to all the chakras, and then sort of into the universe, let's call it like this. And I did this every morning and every evening, but really quickly, doing this guided meditation and then just staying in this state and asking, what do I need today? And trying to receive an answer, which is just, maybe a word or a feeling, or something very simple. And I think this is an easy practice to also, yeah, have this practice of connecting and then asking what is needed, because I think we also needed it in birth, because we don't need everything as help at every point in birth, right? Because in the beginning it might be something different, in the middle something different, and in the end also. So I think it's very important to practice also to ask yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit, the baby, whatever, what is it that you need right now, or what is needed right now in this moment?
What a beautiful practice.
Mm.
So take us forward, to knowing that you're in labor. How did your labor begin? And what was the experience like? How did it feel?
So I was in Athens, in a big city. I had to go there because I could only find a midwife there supporting me in doing a home birth. So I was actually in a house we rented, and we never told the owners, just
I love this.
And so with rituals and everything, I prepared the space. I had spirit animals, and I had affirmations hanging around and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's something you need beforehand only, because when you are in labor, you notice nothing at all around you. But I mean, it was nice as a preparation. And then when I went into, or when the contraction started, I was certain it was just practice. I was like, nah, this is not it. And it was funny because when I connected beforehand and asked the divine energy, like, when is she coming? The divine energy told me 2 days after. So I was certain that it will not be on that day. And the funny thing is that this helped me because I relaxed. Because I was like, this is not it. This is a bit of practice. And it really helped me. And so I was so thankful in the end for getting the wrong date, receiving the wrong date. So I was easy, and I was getting into it. But then it got a bit stronger, the contractions. And at some point, I told my husband to call the midwife, but she was busy. She was like, I can come in 2 hours. And when she finally came, I was, I think, already like 8 centimeters or something. And I was like, okay, I need to go in that pool. We had a pool at home there. And Ananda, my daughter, told me she wants a water birth. Like, she wants to come and get birthed into this world in water. And now she loves water. Like, it's so her thing. And it makes sense all over again. Yeah, so my husband tried to put water in the pool while also holding me through the contractions. So he was like very busy. And then finally midwife came, and she said, okay, you can go into the pool now. We are like on it, sort of in it already. She called the photographer, but I did not notice anything anymore, really, like from the outside. I was so in this state, and that was amazing. Being in this out of this world experience, really, even though it's not easy, but it's empowering that you're like in it and you're doing it. And then it's scary because you're like, I don't know how long this is, or how long this will go, but I'm trusting. And then I ask again, like, what do I need now? And then most of the time it was breathe. The answer I got from the connection, it was breathe or surrender, and then surrender more. And then I'm like, I'm surrendering, I'm trying.
Yes.
No, you need to surrender more. Okay, I'm surrendering more. And I think this is the only thing we have to do, right? Get out of our head and into the body and surrender into this experience, and trust in this work we are doing together with our body, with our child, and with also the help around you have. And even if it's just, holding the hands, that was for me, like, my midwife and my husband, they both held my hands, and that was the best support I could have had in this moment, I think. Yeah.
And I'm noticing as you're talking about surrendering and going deeper and not being as aware, even of a photographer, you didn't mention pain. How would you describe, because I know that's something that so many people are like, birth is just painful.
Yeah.
How did you experience it?
So there was one moment from a strong contraction, I was like, wow, screaming, but it's also part of letting go, I think, the screaming, for me at least. And I'm like very connected to my throat, so the screaming had to be, I think. And I screamed and then dipped my head into the water. And I was like, oh my gosh. And this moment was getting me out of the theta state, I noticed. And then I felt the pain. And I was like, what is this? It was so painful in that second. And I was like, I need to get back into the state. I need to get back into the state. And then I was like, and that's what helped me with all the practice beforehand, because in that moment, I was able to get very quickly back into this theta state, and the pain just went away. And what it felt like for me, it was just this very intense feeling. I would call it an intensity I can't recall now. You can't recall from anything in life, I would say. But it's different from pain you are experiencing when you're sick or hurt yourself or so. I think it's just a very intense experience, and I felt like when I surrendered more into this intense feeling, it was getting better and it was more bearable, I would say, in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Hope
that's,
that.
yeah, for
Yeah.
you. But I hear this from many, many people, and myself included, right? I always say the more we resist, the more the pain is stronger, right? And it persists. But when we can merge with it in our own way, we end up being able to let it move through us. And it no longer, for many people like you as well, feels like pain. It can be intense, but it has many different other experiences to it. So I can just kind of picture you now getting into that tub of water. What did that feel like? Do you remember what it was like to get in? You're already 8, 9 centimeters. What was it
Uh,
like?
Big relief for me, like a big relief. Oh, I was so struggling outside of the pool, even though it was more the beginning. But in the pool, I felt like I could also let go a little bit more. And I was shivering while being outside of the pool. And the water made this a bit better, I had the feeling. And also that I didn't need to hold my body so much myself. I think that I was really like lying over the edge of the pool, and the rest was like just more or less floating, right? Yeah, so I can only recommend this at least to try it. Like I know some people say then they try it for a bit and it's not for the actual labor, but I was like, I'm not going out of this pool ever. Like I'm doing this in here now.
Yes, I mean, we had an episode with Barbara Harper, who's like the water birth guru, right? And she often says it can be called the aquadural. Like for many people, it's like getting an epidural, but not with all the interventions and taking, full sensation away. So I love when I hear that water was really that comfort. And about how long were you in the water until she was born?
About 4 hours. About 4 hours, yeah. Yes. From like 8 o'clock in the evening. And then she was right after midnight, she came.
And so what were you
First,
doing in the tub? Like that's a lot of time. So what were you
is
doing?
it? I don't know.
For you, it probably you don't when you're in altered states, right? You don't even
Yeah,
have a sense of time. It just kind of
no,
is gone.
it's
But
in
what
there,
were
yeah.
some of the things that were supporting you in there?
Mm-hmm. Um, so most of the time in between contractions, I was just trying to relax into it and also closing my eyes, like really um getting even deeper into the body, I would say, into myself. I think I I can't really remember because I was so immersed into the experience. And I know they tried to give me water, but I spit it out. Like I couldn't get something from the outside. I think I needed to stay in this state and be with myself, and only I hold on with the hands. And that really
Okay.
helped me. Yeah. And getting and staying in this connection. I think this was all that I was doing. And I know that things happened around me, and the water was a bit too cold actually in the beginning. So they were putting boiled water in and trying to get the cold water out. So I noticed this in like somewhere, but it helped me that it was getting warmer, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. Yeah, but for the rest, I felt like just staying in this energy and not getting distracted. That was what really helped me to get over the 4 hours in a way,
Yes.
and the stronger contractions, basically, that were coming and coming. And this, what is it called again? When the head is coming out.
The ring of fire, maybe.
Yes,
Yes.
the
What
ring
was
of
that
fire.
like?
Wow. This is, I think, the craziest thing I've ever experienced, really. This utterly strong feeling. Yes, ring of fire is actually something that describes it pretty well. But once it's like done, or like once you're, yeah, it's a big relief. And I think it needs to be like this. Like, really, it felt very natural, like very much, this is it, sort of like, finally. And her head was out, and we had a pause. It was very crazy, and everything was like in slow motion, I felt. And then my midwife said, "You can touch her head now." And I was like, okay. And then I slowly touched her head, and that was so crazy, because the first moment she was like coming into this earth, and we could connect it outside of the body. And I was like, okay, can we just stop here? Like, I need a pause. And it was a pause until I felt like my midwife, she was getting a bit like, we're not getting, like, there's no other contraction. There was no contraction coming. And she was like, okay, it's 7 minutes now. Can I help you? Like, can I help her? Because she felt like she was a little bit stuck with one shoulder. And I was like, oh, okay, I had a pause now. We can do the rest. So I really tried to get everything I could, like every courage I still had somewhere together. And I'm like, okay, we're doing this now. And then, without even a contraction, another one, she said, okay, push now. And then she helped get the shoulder twisted a little bit, and then the whole body came out. And that was like, wow, okay, I've done it. Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Such a powerful story. I just like, oh my goodness, right? I can feel the oxytocin from you in how you're retelling that memory and that deep connection and feeling so connected to already to your daughter, but your midwife, your partner, everyone. So, what was like those first moments and days like after
Mm.
giving birth?
So the first moment after birth was so crazy, because as she already opened her eyes, and I felt like this, she has this knowingness, like she was looking at me like, I know it all. And I was like, wow. So this is, I think, the craziest moment for after birth. And then I actually lost a lot of blood, and we couldn't really tell because of the pool. So I think there was a little bit of a thing that made my first week postpartum difficult, because my iron levels were just so down that I couldn't get up, and I was a very dizzy. So I struggled a little bit with that, definitely. And I felt like it was, I was hitting earth again. I was like, I'm not in that state anymore. This is real life now. Can I go back to birth?
I love that.
But I think it's very important to say this also, because I think, or for me, the postpartum was much harder than I thought it would be, to be honest. Yeah. And I think it's very important that we also say this honestly,
Yes.
to really, like, your whole life changed and you're so beforehand I could just do what I wanted to do at any time, and then, like, okay, I can't even get out of this bed and I need to figure out how to do the breastfeeding and the sleeping and everything. And also the after 3 days with the breastfeeding, what is it called again? The milk, when the milk comes
Comes
in.
in. Yes.
Oh, I thought it was harder, the more pain than birth pain. Like, I thought this was terrible. Like, wow. And then getting over that and trying, to yeah, feel also, because I felt at that moment that I lost a little bit of the connection. And maybe it was from coming down to earth again and trying to organize everything in myself, in my body, with her. And then slowly, I got back into this connection, but it took a little bit. Yes, I have to say that.
Yeah. And it's important to say that postpartum is a time, again, that kind of gets left off. And it's something else it's hard to prepare for, right? Until you're in it, you don't know your needs, your baby's needs, your partner's needs, and how you all can come together.
Yeah.
So you do the best to prepare, and then hopefully good support, right? That's there.
Yeah, very, very important. I think it's very important to prepare. I could have even prepared more if I'd known. Like, we prepared food, but also the space, and also that we have some quiet times before anyone was visiting besides the midwife. And I think that was very, very valuable, and I would always do that again and again and again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been so wonderful. You've shared so many nuggets, and I know that so many people are going to want to learn more too about the brainwaves and how you prepared, and knowing that you do offer this. Can you share with people how they can contact you or follow you?
Mhm. So you can follow me on my YouTube channel and also on Instagram. I think you will link everything you find me on my name. And I'm finding my way through all of this and what I'm doing now or sharing, but I want to share more about this crazy ride of motherhood, and also how to build a community around motherhood. So we couldn't touch on this now, but I think it's also very important to have the support of a community, especially if you're becoming a mother, a new mother. And I'm talking all about this on my YouTube channel, and you can follow me, yeah, if you want to find out more. Also live on Crete and all this. Yeah.
I love it. So we will definitely put all your links in the show notes, and I hope people will take a look, follow you on YouTube, and reach out for more information. And for
Yeah.
everyone listening, we always love your feedback. So please leave
Yes.
us your comments, share, your stories in preparation with us too. Each story is such a gift of wisdom and insights to help others consider their best options. So again, thank you so much, Jasmin, for joining us today. And thank you to all our listeners. We hope you'll join us next week for the next episode of the Orgasmic Birth Podcast. Hope you all find some pleasure today.
Mhm. Thank you.